In a quiet village nestled between rolling hills, two women, Jane and Agnes, were known for their inseparable bond. They had been friends for as long as anyone could remember, sharing everything, joys, sorrows, and secrets. Both widowed, they found solace in each other's company, often seen sitting together under the great oak tree at the edge of the village, whispering and laughing as if they held the world's most amusing secrets. But there was something about Jane and Agnes that made the villagers uneasy. No one could quite explain it, but a shadow seemed to follow them wherever they went. Strange things often happened around them. Crops withered overnight, businesses failed without explanation, and families who once prospered fell into sudden misfortune. Many suspected the two women were not just ordinary widows, but members of a secret coven, a gathering of witches who despised seeing others thrive. Despite the rumors, Jane and Agnes lived their lives without care, their true selves hidden behind warm smiles and friendly conversations. Their only true concern was their children. Jane had a son named Ben, a lively young man who was the light of her life. He was her pride and joy, the one thing in the world she treasured more than anything. Though she belonged to the coven, Jane's love for Ben was pure. She never let him see the darkness that lurked within her. To Ben, she was just his sweet, doting mother, always ready to hear his jokes and share in his laughter. He made it his mission to keep her smiling, believing that as long as she was happy, their little world was perfect. Agnes, on the other hand, had a daughter named Joy, a kind-hearted girl who adored her mother just as much. Joy was gentle and caring, always making sure Agnes was comfortable and at peace. She would bring her tea in the mornings, brush her hair in the evenings, and listen to her stories with fascination. Like Ben, Joy had no idea of the darkness hidden in her mother's past, nor did she know the true nature of her mother's friendship with Jane. The village remained wary of the two women, yet no one dared to confront them. Some claimed they had seen Jane and Agnes walking into the forest late at night, vanishing into the mist. Others whispered about eerie chants heard near the river when the moon was full. But nothing could ever be proven. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, Jane and Agnes continued their lives as they always had, together, bound by something deeper than friendship. But unknown to them, a storm was brewing, one that would shake the very foundations of their secret world. Ben and Joy had known each other since childhood. Their mothers, Jane and Agnes, were inseparable, and so, naturally, their children saw each other often. At first, they were just playmates, running through the village fields, laughing and sharing childhood secrets. But as they grew older, something deeper began to bloom between them, something neither of them could explain. Ben had always admired Joy. She was different from other girls in the village, kind, respectful, and full of warmth. She carried herself with grace, and her laughter had a way of making even the darkest days seem bright. Though he had always felt something special for her, he had never found the courage to say it out loud. But now, as a young man, he could no longer keep his feelings hidden. One sunny afternoon, Ben decided to take Joy out for a walk. The village was calm, with birds singing in the trees and the cool breeze carrying the scent of wildflowers. As they strolled through a quiet path near the river, Ben finally spoke. "Joy, there's something I've been meaning to tell you for a long time," he said, looking at her with a soft smile. Joy turned to him, curious. "What is it, Ben?" He took a deep breath, his heart pounding. "I've had my eyes on you since we were children. You've always been different, so kind, so well-mannered, so full of love. You're not like anyone else." Joy's cheeks turned red and she smiled shyly as she listened. Ben continued, his voice growing more confident. "You know, our mothers have been best friends for as long as we can remember. They've stood by each other through everything, even after our fathers died. Their friendship is something special, something worth learning from, and because of that, I want us to have the same bond." Joy tilted her head slightly. "What do you mean, Ben?" Ben took her hands gently, looking into her eyes. "I love you, Joy, I always have. And I want you to be my wife. I want our families to be connected forever, just like our mothers. Please, say yes." Joy felt her heart swell with happiness. She had always cared for Ben, but hearing him say these words made her feel something deeper, something she hadn't even realized she wanted. Without hesitation, she smiled brightly and said, "Yes, Ben, I will be your wife." Ben's face lit up with joy. He couldn't believe it. He pulled her into a warm embrace, feeling as if the world had just become a better place. As they walked back to the village, hand in hand, they were unaware of the dark secret that bound their mothers together. They didn't know that Jane and Agnes were not just ordinary women, but powerful witches whose hands had cast spells that shaped the fate of many. When Jane and Agnes heard about Ben and Joy's engagement, their hearts sank. They forced smiles and pretended to be happy, but inside they were filled with fear. Long ago in their secret coven, they had sworn an unbreakable oath that no child born of a coven member could ever marry another. It was a rule set in blood, and breaking it meant death. But how could they stop their children now? Ben and Joy were deeply in love, and if they tried to separate them without reason, the young couple would suspect something was wrong. The thought of losing their only children terrified them, but they were trapped by the very darkness they had served for years. Desperate, Jane and Agnes rushed to the coven, kneeling before the witches, begging for mercy. "Please," they pleaded. "Let our children live. Let them marry in peace." But the witches only laughed. "The oath cannot be broken," the head witch declared. "If they marry, they will die on their wedding night. There is nothing you can do." Jane and Agnes felt powerless. As they left the coven, their eyes were filled with tears. They sat together lost in thought, and after a long silence they spoke. "If this is their fate, so be it," Jane whispered, her voice cold. "Yes," Agnes agreed. "Let them die." And so, they made no effort to stop the wedding. The day finally arrived. The village was alive with music, laughter, and joy. Ben and Joy, dressed in their finest clothes, looked happier than ever. They danced with excitement, holding each other close, believing they had a bright future ahead. Friends and family came from far and near to celebrate the beautiful couple, unaware of the dark fate that awaited them. As night fell, the newlyweds returned home, full of love and dreams for the life ahead. But just as they stepped inside their home, an unseen force struck them down. They collapsed instantly, their hands still intertwined. By morning, news of their sudden death spread through the village like wildfire. The people wept, confused and heartbroken. How could such a young, vibrant couple die so suddenly on the night of their wedding? Jane and Agnes knew the truth. They knew the curse had taken their children. But they put on a show of sorrow, crying and wailing louder than anyone else. "Bury them immediately," Jane insisted. "Keeping them here will only deepen our pain." And so Ben and Joy were laid to rest that same day. Their graves were side by side, just like they had been in life. Days passed, but Jane and Agnes could not find peace. The weight of their guilt was unbearable. They had chosen their loyalty to the coven over their own children, and now they were left with nothing. One evening, as they sat together in their mourning clothes, speaking in hushed voices, a sudden chill filled the air. The candle in the room flickered and went out. A strange silence took over. Then, in the dim light, two ghostly figures appeared before them. It was Ben and Joy. Their eyes burned with sorrow and betrayal. Jane and Agnes screamed, frozen with fear. They tried to speak, to beg for forgiveness, but before they could, a powerful force struck them down. Their lifeless bodies fell to the ground, their own sins finally catching up with them. As the spirits of Ben and Joy faded, a peaceful glow surrounded them. Their souls had finally found rest. Moral lessons. 1. The evil we do will always return to us. Jane and Agnes betrayed their own children, and in the end, they paid the price. 2. Love should never be destroyed by wickedness. Ben and Joy's love was pure, but it was ruined by dark forces. 3. Be careful of the oaths you take. Jane and Agnes swore an oath in the coven, but they never thought about how it would affect their future. Thank you for watching and following this story to the end. I hope you learned something valuable from it. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to my channel and stay tuned for more exciting and meaningful tales. See you in the next one.